What's up, folks, and welcome back to Dyce Reacts, where we are staying in Australia tonight. Oh yeah, we are going to be checking out Australia does these 9 things embarrassingly better. Brown side checks one out. We aren't going to waste no more time. Just going to get right into it, folks. We're going to get right into it. Oh yeah.
If you thought I was going to start this video by saying the 9 things that Australia does embarrassingly better than the rest of the world are beaches, coffee, sunshine and koalas, you would be wrong. Now mate, after living here for over a year and a half, I feel slightly smug that I've learned what makes this country so special, and it goes a lot further than seeing a cute little wallaby on your run. So come with me and I'll show you the 9 things that Australia does so good, it makes me do a little giddy dance like this. Let's get straight into it. Number 1, public transport. Okay, Aussies, hear me out. I think a lot of Aussies who have grown up here will probably tell you that the public transport can be a bit shocking. However, as a Brit, I would argue our public transport is so much worse. Aside from London, if you were brought up in a fairly normal British town like I was, Cheltenham, the public transport is questionable. For example, I'll check the bus timetable. My bus is due in 10 minutes. I'll be waiting there for over an hour because I don't know why, and that's just considered normal in the UK. Now in Brisbane, public transport, any kind of public transport, ferry, yeah that's right, ferry, bus and train is only 50 cents. It can also take you from different cities. Not Brisbane to Sydney or anything that extreme, but Brisbane to the Gold Coast, 50 cents mate. That's it, that's the fare. British people, that's 25p. This is genuine madness because if I get a 10-minute bus ride into Cheltenham town centre when I'm back in the UK, a return trip will cost me something like £4, which is for such a tiny distance, and the bus is almost always late. It's not the best deal. And I must say, all the public transport I've got across Brisbane, Melbourne and Sydney, they've always been on time for me. I don't know if I'm just lucky. But let's go to Melbourne. They've got their tram system. It is completely free in the CBD sector of the city, and then outside of that I think it's quite reasonably priced. They're often on time. And then Sydney has their light rail system, which kind of looks like a tram but shaped more like a train, but it's outdoors. You can tap to pay on your phone, which is really nice, and I again think it's quite affordable. Living in Australia, it's kind of woken me up to, if people really wanted to make public transport cheaper, they could. Number 2, petrol stations. Now, there's a big distinction in the UK between a petrol station and a services. A petrol station is your typical gas station that you will fill up in your local town. There'll be a small shop where you can buy the odd snack and pay for your fuel. Services, on the other hand, has a huge car park. It'll have a McDonald's, a Burger King, maybe a Wetherspoons if you're lucky, maybe a hotel, kids play area, large areas for trucks to stop, fuel station. They're big systems, right? Whereas in Australia, I get very confused with this. They call both the little petrol station and the roadside motorway services where there's lots of food to get for your big road trip, it's all called a servo. And I find that very confusing. So when someone says to me, we'll just stop at the servo, I'm expecting a big food court. But then I get to a BP garage and I get a pie. So it's not a criticism at all, just a slight cultural recalibration, I think. But the UK has to hold the crown on the food court version of the services. If you've never been to Gloucester Services, right next door to Cheltenham, they've literally put a services in a grassy hill, and there's like a little cute farm shop with like homemade pastries in there. Oh, it's just beautiful. But I've gone on a tangent. Australia does a petrol station way better. You go to a 7-Eleven here, you can get Japanese onigiri, you can get a Slurpee, a $1.50 Slurpee. You could get any snack you can think of, plus a whole hot food section with pies and sausage rolls, and they've got an automated coffee machine, which the coffee is pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, enough about petrol. Let's talk about something else that is very important, and that's dessert. Number 3, sweet treats. Mate, I need to tell you about Yochi, right? Imagine a world where you can go in to a glossy white building, got all these pumps, and you pull these levers, right? And it flows with incredibly tasty and yummy frozen yogurt. And I need you to take this seriously, because then there's...
No. What I was gonna say, ice cream. I don't like yogurt at all, man. Once I ate a lot of yogurt, but it was during an activity. I'm not gonna say it, but I enjoyed the yogurt that time. But apart from that, man, it's gonna be pretty hard for me to eat yogurt. It's something about the taste that it just tastes. That's a sour taste, and it just feels like I'm eating something that's spoiled, man. I just don't like the taste, man. It just maybe I've smelled so many things that maybe when it goes bad in terms of milky products, and it just turns my stomach. And no matter how I try to eat, no matter what flavor of the yogurt, it's just unpleasant. It's just an unpleasant taste. Yeah, except the time I'm talking about, you know. I ate like two yogurts, two and a half to three yogurts that day. That was, you know, that was something else. So I know it can be done if you just like something to really eat it. Yeah. So we won't leave it as that. We won't take it back just a bit.
Frozen yogurt. And I need you to take this seriously, because then there's a toppings bar that goes on for a kilometre. What I don't understand about frozen yogurt is that, to me, it just tastes like ice cream. I can't actually tell the difference.
Well,
it just feels like an ice cream shop. Honestly,
Really?
Australian sweet treats put the UK ones to shame. Not only that, they've got gelato shops on every corner here, at least in Brisbane anyway. Oh, and then how can I forget acai bowls, which are technically a health food, but you go to your local cafe for brunch,
I know
you
that
can
one
get
right
this
now.
smoothie bowl made with acai. Put a load of fruit and granola on. It's very sweet. And then our UK supermarkets have loads of delicious and very affordable sweet treats. But if you want to go out for a sweet treat, you know, you've got a date, or you want to take your parents somewhere nicer, you're usually paying an arm and a leg for it in the UK. I do want to be honest though, there is a downside about the sweet treats in Australia. You can't find a lot of veggie-friendly lollies, sweets, ones that don't have gelatin in. Now, I need to talk to you about something that practically has no purpose at all, but I absolutely love it. And that's number 4, big things. Australia has a big pineapple. It also has a big banana, and guess what? I've been to both. So dotted all over Australia are these absurdly enormous things. Sometimes they're fruits, sometimes there's foods. There's a big lobster, there's a big shrimp or prawn. They often come with some sort of tourist attraction, like the big banana has like a sweet shop, and then they've got like a banana farm and a gift shop. The big pineapple definitely has a zoo attached to it, and Princess Diana visited it around about when it opened, which is really cool. And nobody has really asked for these things. You know, you're trying to pay your rent, bring your kids up, and somebody just thought, mate, I'm gonna build a massive lobster right now. What's really fun about them is you won't even be looking for them, but you'll be trying to travel around Australia, you'll be doing some big road trips, and you'll just see one on the side of the road and you think, well, this is a good place to stop. Maddie and I, we went to the big pineapple on our way back from Noosa. Genuinely one of the highlights of my year. Now, number 5, cafes. Cafes here aren't just a vibe, they are a cultural staple, and I am all for it. In the UK, finding a good cafe is like finding a $20 bill in an old coat. Rare, but very exciting. Whereas in Australia, it's like people have handing you free money around every, here mate.
Basically, every Australian video I've done so far, I've done Australia videos for over a year. Yeah, over a year now. And everyone is saying that Australia has the best coffee. And people who were born in many different countries, you know, UK, Germany, and everyone said that the coffee is the best. I don't know why that is, but I'm believing it already because everyone is saying the same thing. So definitely he had to put that one on the list. Like he said, he didn't put it first, but definitely you have to put it. I mean, you can't put a list and you don't have it. It'll be absurd if you ask me. Coffee is something I don't drink all the time, but definitely I love coffee. Now, someone would say, well, how can you love something so much and you don't do it so often? Yeah, because I usually have coffee if I'm feeling a little under the weather in terms of like a sore throat, or you know, I'm just not feeling totally fine that night. Sometimes in the day, but more in the night. I would drink coffee if I want to stay up a little later or give me a boost of energy so I could stay up a little later than normal, because sometimes that day or that night in particular, you want to stay up late, but you don't really have the energy. And coffee actually gives me that little boost that I need. So I don't do it often, only when needed. I drink coffee for those reasons, like I said, but I love it nonetheless. I wouldn't drink it just randomly all the time.
Australia, it's like people are handing you free money around every here mate. You think you'll go into somewhere that looks dingy and you think, oh, the coffee's going to be awful here. I need a coffee right now, so I'll just buy one. And it turns out to be incredible. It's kind of annoying how good every single cafe is. Now, I'm being a bit harsh on the UK. We do have quite a few good coffee shops, but the last cafe I went to in the UK was fantastic, and I thought, why is this place so good? And it turned out to be owned by an Australian. So I was like, how can I defend the UK cafe culture at this point? When you know you're always going to get good coffee and good food, and people are going to be genuinely friendly towards you, it makes you want to keep doing it over and over again. So honestly, the UK could learn a thing or two about Australian cafe culture. And speaking of things that make daily life better and better, this next one changed how I see moving around a city completely. Number 6, cycle paths. This one sounds boring, but stick with me. The cycle path, at least from what I've seen in Brisbane, Melbourne and Sydney, they give you so much more room than a lot of towns in the UK. Of course, London has quite a few cycle paths. We've got the blue one, the C cycle roads that you can get around a lot of central London in very easily. It's very good. But some of the driving in London can be a little bit hairy, I'm not gonna lie. Whereas in Australia, the cycle paths are so wide, and there's a lot of them you can find that aren't actually on the main road with the cars, which means you're even safer. But here, you can get on a bike or you can hire one out like one of the Lime bikes and you feel so calm. There's so many private cycle paths that take you over the river or take you along sort of bushland, places like that. There's Balimba Creek Bikeway in Brisbane, which is just this gorgeous, I think it's like a 20-kilometer cycle path that takes you through these gorgeous creeks, through all these like bushes and forests, and oh, it's just beautiful. And I think this is actually bigger than it sounds. The infrastructure of the cities here make you feel welcome. Cycling around Melbourne is also quite pleasant because you get the green cycle lanes that sometimes actually have a curb blocked off from the actual road that the cars drive on, so you feel safe again. And I've noticed that in Australia there's this optimistic vision of let's build our cities and our towns infrastructure to be much more spacious, so then we're not stressed out about it later on. And in the UK, while you might say it's a very small island, there's still a lot of space there that could things could be expanded out to, and we've just cramped ourselves in. We really have. So it's nice living in a city where I'm not trying to negotiate for room, where I can spread my arms out if I can ride the bike still and not fall over, and feel, safe doing it. Number 7, sunscreen. I always tell British friends and family visiting us here in Oz, leave your UK sunscreen at home. Buy some stuff when you get into the supermarkets here. It's properly tested against harsh Australian UV levels, and you're going to be safe. And the UV index here is genuinely terrifying, especially in summer. Most days it will get to a peak of 13, which is insane. Like in the UK, even in the summer months, sometimes the highest it gets to in the day is 2. Which is nothing. So remember, if you're going outside and the UV is higher than 3, slap on that sunscreen, put on a hat, put your sunnies on, protect yourself. But we didn't grow up knowing this. Your mum might tell you to put on some SPF 15 on a particularly hot day, but we never got brought up with the same sun safety culture, like no hat, no play in Australia. From sunburn to somewhere much more comfortable, literally. Number 8, comfortable theatre seats. Now this one's very specific to me as an actor, but honestly, the comfort of a theatre seat can make...
Yeah, that one is really out the ballpark. Yeah, theatre seats. I mean, he must really like going and watching movies and those things to even mention that. That would just be like a preference. I wouldn't think I would put that on a list. I mean, it sounds so insignificant, not important as a whole to put on the list, but I'm guessing it's just putting the things that he has observed, but it's a weird thing to put on the list. Theater seats. I don't think I would ever put something like that on the list. Even if I'm doing a comparison, it's just strange. Damn. We'll take it back a bit.
Now this one's very specific to me as an actor, but honestly, the comfort of the theatre seat can make or break a performance for me. I could be watching Sir Laurence Olivier performing Macbeth on stage, right? And if the theatre seat is uncomfortable, I'm just completely out of it. So I've been to a fair few theatres in Australia now and seen lots of different productions, and every single theatre seat I've sat in has been so comfortable. They're just so nice. Whereas in the UK, especially the West End, there's a lot of very lovely old theatres, as you'd expect, and some of the theatre seats are just awful. That, like, your bum hurts so bad after them. Your knees are higher than your waist, and like you're so cramped in that you don't want to bump into anyone, so your arms are like this. Now, West End theatre seats, some of them are ancient. This is where it's coming from. Maybe when they were first brought out 100 years ago in this new theatre at the time, everyone was saying these are great, but as more wear and tear gets to them, they lose their comfort levels. Whereas a lot of Australian theatres, not only do they invest a lot of money in them, but they're a lot more modern typically. And I think if you're coming to Australia and want to see some, live music, stand-up comedy, musical theatre, you're going to be nicely surprised. And finally, the one that surprised me the most, number 9, Aussies will actually stop to help you. Now, I was lost in Melbourne on a run, properly lost. My phone was not on me. It was back in the Airbnb because I thought, yeah, I'll remember my way home. And I had no way.
Damn. I've never heard someone said that they were properly lost. That was funny, man.
Not on me. It was back in the Airbnb because I thought, yeah, I'll remember my way home. And I had no way of getting back. And the first person I stopped waiting for the train, they were on their commute to go to their job. And they got their phone out, they showed me Google Maps, they directed me, they were so lovely and friendly. And I'm embarrassed to admit, this isn't the first time I've got lost on a run in Australia. If I'm on a vacation in a new Australian city, I like to just sort of wing it. And if you look visibly stuck as well, there's a lot of Aussies that will go out of their way to stop and help you. I experienced a very similar thing in Japan as well. People want, in both countries, if they see you in distress, they will want to go out of their way to help you. Whereas there are some places in the UK, and I'm not just talking about London, I come from quite a small Cotswolds town, where people will just walk on by. But I kind of think we're all human, aren't we? We got to help each other. And it is so nice because people will check in with you, even if they've never met you before. They'll make sure you're okay, especially if they can tell you're a foreigner. People don't want you to have a bad time. And it seems to be a cultural thing. Australians have this strong sense of community, even in big cities, even when they're total strangers. And I love that. This might sound like a small thing, but honestly, the world needs more of this right now. And even on the tough days, it makes me realize how blessed and grateful I should be of living in this gorgeous, gorgeous place.
I mean, I had a laugh right there. He said he was properly lost, man. Properly lost. That's crazy, man. That's crazy to even say something like that. Like, you don't really hear people use that term for being lost, man. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. First time I'm hearing that, so I had a chuckle on that one. When it comes to the psychopaths, when he was saying psychopaths, it sounded like psychopath. Every now and then I was like, what is he saying there? But the way he speaks, it sounds like psychopaths. We talk about psychopaths, and I'm not surprised because in Australia the government is thoughtful about every aspect of life. They care about the citizens because some of the things that they put in place in terms of the traffic laws and the streets, the signs, I mean, they put in place so much that it just sounds absurd that someone would go to those lengths just for safety. You know what I mean? Because it's not common in other countries where you might see things that are just basic things for safetyness, but with Australia, the government goes an extra mile for safety. So it's just amazing, and it was not surprising when he was talking about that. Definitely, I'm wondering why the coffee culture in Australia is so good. Like, why is that? What is the history behind the coffee making in Australia that you can go just about anywhere and experience the same quality of coffee? It's not like it's in a one establishment, like a chain of restaurants or something. It's individual places and everyone is saying the same thing. The coffee is just good in Australia. So that's like a countrywide thing. So there has to be some historical aspect to the coffee making in Australia, where everyone is almost like a specialist to see. Yeah, so that's interesting. Hit me up in the comments about that information. And something I find that is not really fair in terms of comparison when he's talking about the theater seats. I don't think that had to do with not Australia, but whoever is in charge of that company, that theater, buying seats that are just not good. Apparently no one is complaining about them because it's still there. I mean, if it was that bad, I think people would complain by now. And there's something, but I don't think it's something I would put in Australia as a whole, because I thought you would have put comparisons where it's almost like Australia as a whole and not just something that's just preferential just to him. It just sounds a little, how say, a little unfair if you ask me, with the theater seats. Yeah, but like you said, he didn't say like it's the whole of Australia. I think he said the western part or something of that nature. But regardless, this was kind of weird to put on the list, I must say. I don't know if we ran out of things to put on the list, but this is the one I wouldn't put on the list. Everything else was fine, but this one was a little strange. Theater seats. I don't think anyone is going to do a video talking about theater seats in Australia in terms of comparison. If you want to see that long run archer that I do, hit over on Dyce Reacts, where I do music reactions. This is where I'm going to be making my exit. Until next time, peace out.